Howdy do everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erin. So today I put out a poll on Twitter asking what video you guys would like to see me make after I get back from my job interview, and I gave you 4 options, and the option that won was reading my old fanfics. So you guys just want to embarrass me, huh? So they all used to be on both Wattpad and Archive of Our Own. I recently deleted all of my old fan fictions off of Wattpad, so now all that's on there is my original stories and series. So it looks like we're going to have to go to Archive of Our Own and look up my old username. This one only has 2 chapters and was never updated, so let's get to it. This one is called Growing Pains Multiband Fanfic, and the summary says includes various bands: MCR, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, 21 Pilots, Green Day, Black Veil Brides, and Paramore in all caps high school. There's the troublemaker, the shy artist, the Christians with dark minds, and so much more. Chapter 1, Frank's point of view. And would you look at that? This was terrible formatting. Frank's point of view. I was half asleep, trudging down the hall to my first class. My mom had forced me to take my medication this morning, and the side effects were starting to kick in. I have really bad health issues, okay? I forced myself into first period, and I plopped down in a seat next to this guy with bright lemon yellow hair. He was drawing on the back of his notebook. I plopped my backpack onto my desk with a thump, causing the guy to look up. I pulled a Monster Energy drink out of my bag and my coffee from the water bottle holding thing on the side, and took the lid off the cup, and I popped open the Monster. I looked the boy with the yellow hair dead in the eyes and said in a monotone voice, "I'm gonna die." Then proceeded to pour the energy drink into my coffee and took a long drink of the mixture. Lemonhead's eyes widened. "Yeah, you're gonna die. Is that even healthy, to mix Monster and coffee?" I shrugged in response and continued to drink the sweet and energizing poison. A few minutes later, the teacher walked in, late. By this time, I was wide awake and full of energy. When Mr. Harrison, my first period teacher, English 3, walked in, I shouted out to him, "Jacob, you're late. Go to the principal's office." As a result, I got a flustered and slightly irritated teacher and a giggling class. "Mr. Iero, I don't want to have to deal with you today, so keep your mouth shut," Mr. Harrison said. "How can I stay quiet when I know that you of all people, Mr. Jacob Harrison, came to class late? We have to write you up for this," I said, then pulled a tardy slip and detention slip out of my bag and started to fill them out. But my fun was cut short when Mr. Harrison came over and took the slips from me, causing me to make a long black stripe going across the desk. Mr. Harrison pointed to the door. "Frank Iero, I want you to leave this class. Now." I frowned. "Why?" I asked. "I'm only messing around. I wasn't actually going to give the slips to the principal." And that is the end of chapter 1 of Growing Pains. There's 2 comments on it. Should we look at them? I think we're going to look at them. Okay. It was just about K-pop. I'm not a fan of K-pop. Chapter 2 of Growing Pains. Gerard's point of view. I watched silently as Mr. Harrison yelled at the boy with the tattoos and piercings, who had chugged a mixture of energy drink and coffee. That kid had balls to pretend to write up a teacher for coming to class late. Then again, I had seen this kid do a bunch of crazy and get sent to the office multiple times. He released a raccoon and a snake in the halls a few months ago and had caused a panic amongst the entire student body and school faculty. I have to admit, he's actually really cool, though the only words I've ever said to him were what I had said a few minutes ago. I don't have the balls to say anything else to him. Or, as my baby brother Mikey would say, I don't have a big enough dick to do anything other than sit around silently and watch. I stayed silent for a while longer, and I felt bad as I watched the kid get dragged out of the room by Mr. Harrison. And I did the only thing I could think of at the moment. When Mr. Harrison came back in, I got my lemons out of my bag and stabbed my pencil through one and squirted the lemon juice at him.
He was only messing around,
I shouted at him. Mr. Harrison wiped the lemon juice from his face and stared me down. Honestly, I felt really uncomfortable. I'd never done anything like this before. Mr. Way, I never expected such disrupting and immature acts from you, he exclaimed, not looking too pleased. I'm afraid to say this, but you have to go to the office. All right, sir, I said, standing up and picking my notebook up off the desk. Take your things with you, Mr. Harrison said. I nodded and shakily got my bag off the floor and started to the door, only to trip over someone's foot and crash to the floor. That right? The whole class laughed. Smooth go, Lemonhead, some asshole said from the back of the class. That's enough, Justin, Mr. Harrison scolded. I slowly got back to my feet. Gerard, are you all right? Teacher asked me. I nodded my head and quickly ran out of the room. And that is the end of Growing Pains. I've never updated it. Let's see. What should we read next? Excuse me. I actually rewrote this one and published it as an actual novel. It's available on Amazon if you want to buy it. I will put a link to it in the description. So I'm not going to read that one because it'll just spoil it if you decide to read it. Let's try Maybe You're One of Us. It has 6 chapters, 2 comments, 30 kudos, and 1 bookmark, and 444 hits. I guess I should maybe give a trigger warning for this one, as it talks about mental health, schizophrenia, self-harm, and suicidal thoughts. The summary says Frank Guerrero has been admitted into a mental hospital. He has schizophrenia. At this institution, he meets Gerard Way, a boy who has been admitted for self-harm and suicide attempts. This is actually pretty ableist to say. Okay. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. I was ushered out of my mother's car and toward the large building. I looked up at it. The faded gray bricks curved around the big, clear glass front doors. It had the name of the place carved and painted gold. Greenstone Home for the Mental and Insane. Oh boy. What was I thinking? Great. Mom was sending me to a home. Told you this would happen. A voice in my head, I named her Anna, said. I shook my head. I should have listened to you, I muttered back to Anna. Sorry. Somebody is messaging my Discord server. Mom looked at me. This is why she was sending me here. She says that I'm insane. I'm not insane, I swear. She sighed and took my wrist in her hand and pulled me toward the doors to inside the building. I don't belong here, Mom, I said, trying to get my wrist out of her hand. I don't want to send you here, Frankie, but you need help. Anna's not real. I've told you that before, Mom said. She says that Anna's not real, but I know she is. She's my best friend. Always there when I need her. Sure, she yells at me a lot, but she's still my friend. When we reached inside, there were a few people sitting in these uncomfortable-looking white plastic and metal chairs. One kid with a big forehead and floppy hair was muttering something about it being 9 in the afternoon or something, while his leg bounced up and down and his hands twitched. There was an older-looking guy with wild jet black hair and a wild look in his green-looking eyes. His hands were twitching as if he were craving something. The guy next to him started giggling maniacally. Not maniacally, manically. My eyes widened. One thing I noticed they all had in common were their clothes. Their clothes were just white t-shirts, white pants, and they were either barefoot or had white socks on. The giggling guy looked at the wild-eyed guy. Billy, did you hear the wild eyes guy? Billy, I'm guessing his name is. Cut him off. No, Trey, I didn't hear it. For the 1,000th time, I didn't hear the joke. A woman with orange hair walked in, pushing another boy with raven black hair toward one of the chairs. I told you 1,000 times before, Mr. Way, you can't stay in your room all day, the woman said to the boy as he sat in one of the chairs next to the man with an afro. The boy with raven hair made a hand gesture that looked like he was drawing in the air. Oh, you were looking for your sketchbook. Okay, I'll go get it, the orange-haired lady said, then turned on her heel and walked back down the hall. I asked you, young man, what's your name and your condition? I turned my head and saw that the woman with dark brown, almost black hair sitting behind the desk was talking to me. Frank Aero, I said. And your condition? She repeated herself. I looked at Mom for answers. He has schizophrenia, Mom answered. You'll fit right in. The woman, I took a peek at some papers scattered around her and saw that her name was either Lindsay Balato or Lindsay Balato. It might be both, said. She stood up out of her chair and leaned forward over the desk and pointed at Giggle Guy. I believe Billy had called him Trey and said, Trey cool. He's in for psychosis. Ironically enough, one symptom of his condition is hearing voices, quite like schizophrenia. I nodded, silent. My gaze drifted from Trey to the other boy. The orange-haired doctor had called him Way, who was now sketching in a sketch pad. I have to admit, he's kind of cute. Oh no. So much wrong with this. What was I thinking? He was concentrating hard, the top of his tongue poking out between his lips. He looked like a 12-year-old working on the fun kind of homework, like coloring a page or one of those easy word searches. Oh, that's Gerard Way. He doesn't talk much. He only talks to Dr. Toro, Dr. Breyer, or Billy, and his brother Mikey when Mikey comes on visiting days. Lindsay said, Oh, you think he's cute? Anna said. My eyes widened. I forgot Anna could read my thoughts. I quickly shook my head. No, I don't think that. No, I said, trying not to make Anna mad. Lindsay raised an eyebrow, then nodded. Yep, definitely will fit in just fine, she said. Chapter 2. I was soon told to sit in one of the chairs while they found me a room to stay in. I was sitting next to this guy. He seems crazy, like Harley Quinn and the Joker crazy. He keeps cackling and grinning evilly. Lindsay told me his name was Pete Wentz, and that he was just in for being psychotic. This is so ableist. Pete, I looked up, seeing the short man walk in. Pete looked up and grinned. Patty Bear, Pete squealed, jumping up. The doctor shushed Pete. We shouldn't be doing this, Pete, I heard Patty Bear whisper. Pete put a finger to his lips, smiling and nodded. Right, I heard him whisper. Patty Bear took Pete's other hand in one of his and started to lead him down the hall. Dr. Williams came in and looked down the hall. Dr. Stump, you're supposed to... The doctor, now known as Dr. Stump, lifted his and Pete's hands. I'm on Pete duty, he called over his shoulder. Pete giggled. He said duty. He's on me duty. Dr. Williams frowned and walked to the desk. Lindsay, I swear there's something going on with those two, she said to Lindsay. You don't belong here, Frankie. You need to get out of here, Anna said. Anna, I can't just leave. Mom will know, and she'll just send me back, I replied. Eyes were on me now. Dr. Williams, Billy's, Trey's, Lindsay's, the man with the fro. I think he's Dr. Toro. Even Gerard Way's eyes were on me. My face heated up in embarrassment, and what I said next couldn't have been more stupid to say. Sorry, the voices, telling me to make a run for it. Trey's face lit up. Dude, same, he said. I smiled a little at Trey. Cool, I said in a soft voice. Trey grinned and looked away. That Gerard guy kept staring at me. It made me a bit uncomfortable. His light brown, and I think I see a hint of green, eyes seemingly trying to see into my soul. I swallowed hard and heard Anna say, look away. People usually look away if you look away. I shook my head and whispered back to her, did you forget where we are? People here are insane and creeps. He might not look away. Anna sighed. Frankie, You never know unless you try. Just look away. I shook my head again. No, Anna, I said. I can't. You could be lying. I instantly regretted saying that. What did you say to me? She yelled. Anna, who are you talking to? I jumped at the sudden voice. I looked beside me and saw the floppy hair that belonged to the 9 PM boy, Brendan Urie. Just my friend, I said. Brendan nodded. Cute. I have a friend. He's in his room now. His half of the building aren't on their playtime yet, he said, grinning. Oh, what's his name? I asked. Brendan giggled. Ryan Ross. I nodded. Yeah, I love him. He's adorable, Brendan said, smiling down at his hands. Brendan, back to your chair. Move one chair over. You're supposed to be a chair away from others. It said none other than Dr. Williams. But I've stopped touching other people's necks, Brendan protested. I was slightly confused, and now more concerned for this kid. No, Brendan, move over, Dr. Williams said. Brendan hung his head. Yes, ma'am, he said, move a chair over. This place keeps getting weirder and weirder, I thought.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, this is not fun, and I'm just giving it more views. Why did I even think this is okay? Okay, before I continue this, let me just put out a PSA. Don't write about mental illnesses unless you do the proper research. Clearly, as you can see from this mess, I had no idea what I was talking about. Only recently, like in the last few years, kind of recently, did I actually start doing research on different mental illnesses to use in some of my works. And I even talked to some people who have been professionally diagnosed. So don't do what I did here in this fanfiction and in some of my others where I just went off of what I saw in movies and TV shows. Yeah. And this third chapter looks like it's shorter, but I think I'm gonna stop reading this one. I also noticed that in some of these I used some very, very not good words, slurs that I should not be saying because I'm not allowed to reclaim them. Oh no, and this other one has Shane Dawson in it. Shane Dawson's a terrible person. Shall we just go with Band Squad, my Suicide Squad alternate universe fanfiction? It's 14 chapters long. I remember this one because it's my most popular one and it is so embarrassing. It's also like super awkward. When I had this on my Wattpad, I had actually made some edits, like picture edits for them, as with the different people as the characters from Suicide Squad to go along with it. The description says, a group of specific individuals have been chosen by Pete Wentz to go from bad guy to good guy. Who are these individuals? They are Dr. Gerard Way, aka G-Way, another ableist term, Insane, boyfriend of Frank Iero, aka Iero, aka Mr. I, Brendan Urie, aka Bebo, aka Sparkly Bisexual Nymph. Okay, hi, this is Erin from the future in the middle of editing. I would just like to note that this was back before Brendan started identifying as pansexual. Yeah. Thief, can't work with others. Andrew Hurley, aka Andy, assassin for hire. Victor Fuentes, aka Vic, Devil's Gift, killed his husband Kellen. Patrick Stump, aka Pat, killer with a hook for a hand. Dallin Weeks, aka Dal, ropes of steel. Archaeologist Tyler Joseph, aka Tyler, aka Ty, aka Enchanter, a male witch lives inside him. This group is led by Commander Joshua Josh Dunn, who is assigned to be with Tyler at all times. The group is also joined by Michael Mikey Way, a swordsman. The group is also up against Enchanter's brother, Blurryface, who is trying to destroy the world. I think I'm actually just going to I'm going to choose a random chapter and skip to it because this is a lot and we are nearing half an hour filming. So yeah, I'm going to close my eyes and just pick a random chapter. Chapter 5. Okay. Chapter 5. What if Six decided to jump in and destroy the whole city and take Johnny Gilbert right out of his house? Who would have stopped him? We have plans. We have rivals in Korea. Hate in our mail. And there's shit in our water. The head of the company had called everyone in for a special meeting. But what happens if the next Six becomes a bad guy? Peter Wentz has a plan. He looked at Pete. Pete stood and walked to one end of the table. He cleared his throat and announced, I want to create a team of souls who I believe can actually do some good shit. Like take part in the next fight, but on the good side, or defeat the next Six. He got cut off by someone else. Not on my watch, the interrupter said, and immediately shut his mouth when the small man giving the proposal shot him a deathly glare. The head spoke up. You're not putting those monsters back out on the streets in our name, Pete. Pete looked over at him and took a deep breath. Sir, we run them covertly, non-attributed. Strictly need to know. If they get caught, Pete shrugged his shoulders. We simply throw them under the bus. It's that easy, man. The head sighed and ran a hand over his face. What do you have to show us, Wentz? Pete glanced over to the blue-haired colonel, of whom was whispering to the scared-looking ex-archaeologist. Be strong, Tyler, Josh kept whispering to his friend over and over again. Dr. Joseph, Pete said. Tyler looked up and then looked to Josh, who nodded. Tyler stood up and ran his hands down the front of his suit before making his way over to the shorter man. Tyler wetted his lips before leaning against the table and glancing at Pete, who nodded to him. Tyler took a deep breath and whispered, if you looked close enough, you would have seen a pair of shadow black hands slide out of Dr. Joseph's sleeves and interlock fingers with him, before flipping to be the dominant hands. Everyone gasped at who they saw before them. One woman even silently praying. Tyler seemed to have disappeared. In his face was a man. Boy? Yeah, boy, with scraggly tar-black hair and a crown-like thing resting on his head. Very pale skin with speckles of light gray and black all over. He was barefoot and shirtless, almost naked more or less. There was a black torn cloth wrapped around his hips, the only thing shielding his groin and butt from everyone. This was the Enchanter. The only traces of Tyler to be seen in him were his eyes and facial features. Meet the Enchanter, Pete said as Enchanter looked around the room, swaying a bit and sniffing the air. Everything you need to know about him is in your briefing packs. He has walked this world a very long time and will. Pete scrunched up his face and shrugged. Most likely be here long after we're gone. This meeting is now a magic show? This is bull, the head exclaimed. Pete frowned at him. Magic or not, this boy can do pretty incredible things. He turned to Enchanter. Go get it, boy. Enchanter glanced down at his heart in the briefcase that belongs to Pete and then disappeared. The room suddenly going dark and the table started to shake. The room went back to normal only a matter of seconds later when Enchanter reappeared and dropped a bulky binder in front of the head. Wanting something? Pete mused. The head's eyes widened, and he looked through the binder. Oh my god, we've been chasing these plans for years. Enchanter looked at Pete expectantly. Thank you, sir. We'd like Dr. Joseph back, Pete said, and when nothing happened, he poked at the Enchanter's heart with his pen. The Enchanter cried out and everyone stared, and a whisper went through the room.
Enchanter.
A frantic Tyler stood in place of Enchanter. Please, I can't do that again. He looked close to tears. He was so scared. I'm sorry, I can't do that again. Pete jerked his head toward Josh. Done. Get him out of here. Josh obeyed, walking up and scooping Tyler up bridal style and carried him out. I moved to authorize Pete Wentz to establish Task 4X under the Argus program, the head said. All right, Pete said. Thank you, sir. And that's where I'm going to leave this video off. If you'd like me to read more of my fan fictions from back when I was very problematic and super young, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, turn on the bell notification so that you know when I upload next. If there's any other type of video you would like me to make, comment that down below. And my editing channel, Silver Screen Edits, has hit way over 1,000 subscribers. Be sure to subscribe there. Check the community tab because I've been posting over there on that channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. I have one more thing to say. Once again, from the future. Do not ship real people. I'm usually all for whoever you want to ship, but It should be known that you should not ship real life actual people. It ruins friendships, it makes things awkward, and has actually caused lots of bands and to break up and friends to just stop being friends. I wrote all of these back when I was young and didn't know any better, but I know now and I've grown from that. That's why I took down these stories off of my Wattpad account. I would remove them from Archive of Our Own, but I don't remember the login for the account that these are on. So I ended up making a new account where I have been writing fandom of strictly fictional centric fan fictions, like Titans and the Avengers. Things like that. So yeah, don't ship real people. You have no idea what damage you're causing in their personal lives while doing this. Okay, bye.